Good morning, everyone. How we all doing today? February 11th, the limits of self-reliance. We asked ourselves why we had them. Fears. Wasn't it because self-reliance had failed us? Alcoholics and Addicts, page 68. All of my character defects separate me from God's will. When I ignore my association with Him, I face the world and my alcoholism alone and must depend on self-reliance. I have never found security and happiness through self-will, and the only result is a life of fear and discontent. God provides the path back to Him, to His gift of serenity and comfort. First, however, I must be willing to acknowledge my fears and understand their source and power over me. I frequently ask God to help me understand how I separate myself from Him. I got a few other readings here that I wanted to read. Step 2, 12 and 12, last paragraph. Let's look at the case of the one who says he won't believe, the belligerent one. He is in a state of mind which can be described only as savage. His whole philosophy of life, in which he so gloried, is threatened. It's bad enough, he thinks, to admit that alcohol has him down for keeps, but now, still smarting from that admission, he is faced with something really impossible. How does he cherish the thought that man, risen so majestically from a single cell in the primordial ooze, is the spearhead of evolution, and therefore the only God that his universe knows? Must he renounce all this to save himself? And I'm just going to flip to page 28. Sorry. No, I'm not. Page 30. Second, maybe third paragraph, I'm not sure. I underlined a lot. Another crowd of AA said we were plumb disgusted with religion and all its works. The Bible, we said, was full of nonsense. We could cite a chapter and verse, and we couldn't see the Beatitudes for the begats. In spots, its immorality was impossibly good. In others, it seemed impossibly bad. But it was the morality of the religionists themselves that really got us down. We gloated over the hypocrisy, bigotry, and crushing self-righteousness that clung to so many believers in their Sunday best. How we loved to shout the damaging fact that millions of good men of religion were still killing one another off in the name of God. This all meant, of course, we had substituted negative for positive thinking. After we came to AA, we had to recognize that this trait had been an ego-feeding proposition. In belaboring the sins of some religious people, we could feel superior to all of them. Moreover, we could avoid looking at some of our own shortcomings. Self-righteousness, the very thing we had contemptuously condemned in others, was our own besetting evil. This phony form of respectability was our undoing, so far as faith was concerned, but finally driven to AA, we learned better. And then I'm just going to flip back to page 26, step 2, top paragraph. At this juncture, his AA sponsor usually laughs. This, the newcomer thinks, is just about the last straw. This is the beginning of the end, and so it is. The beginning of the end of his old life, and the beginning and the emergence of his new one. His sponsor probably says, take it easy. The hoop you have to jump through is a lot wider than you think. At least I found it so, and so did a friend of mine who was a one-time vice president of the American Atheist Society, but he got through with room to spare. And that's my alarm. With that, I want to say thank you for letting me serve, and I'll wish you another 24 hours of continuous sobriety, and I'll take another 24 for myself, and have a great day. I gotta go get that.